Hey, Melissa.
Hey, what?
People have questions.
Yeah.
Most of these people are the internet, like Reddit,
Yeah.
asking questions about cake mix and medicine and steaming mugs.
I love that.
That kind of stuff. But another question asker is my own oldest son.
Yes. He actually inspired this episode because he's 5.
He is 5, and some of these other questions are from Explain It Like I'm 5
Yep.
on Reddit. And so we're going to throw a bunch of these questions at you.
Okay. I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Hey, I'm Melissa.
I'm Jam.
And I'm a chemist.
And I'm not.
And welcome to Chemistry for Your Life.
The podcast helps you understand the chemistry of your everyday life.
Reddit edition.
Reddit edition, yeah.
Awesome. Well, what questions do you have for me?
Okay, this first one is one, so that I did send you through voice memo a couple of weeks ago. These happen when we are driving, and my oldest sits like in the middle. His car seat's in the middle in the like back seat, and so and he's facing forward so he can ask me questions and stuff. And he just out of the blue is like, "Hey, I've got another question we should ask Melissa." And the question was, why can birds sit on electrical wires and not get shocked?
Okay, so I did have to look up some of this. So I am going to include a resource, which I don't normally do, but I wanted to give a good answer. So here's what I came up with. So electricity is moving electrons, and your oldest, he knows that everything is made up of these tiny balls that we can't see with our eyes.
Yes.
They're the building blocks like Legos or brick, whatever your, what are those big ones called? Mega blocks.
Oh, yeah.
Does he know that each of those balls can have negative or positive things around them?
No, we haven't talked about that, but we have, of course, for the sake of like warning our kids about danger, explained about electricity to them. And not the like electrons side of it, but just that like electricity, don't put your finger in an outlet kind of stuff.
Okay.
So that's part of where he's drawing from, of course, with this. But we have not. I have not figured out how to do that.
Okay.
He hasn't asked.
So electricity, maybe we could tell him that electricity happens when those little balls are moving. Because they're a smaller ball than the other ones we're talking about, but he doesn't need to know that necessarily.
Right.
I think we could get at it without that. So I would say that electricity is made up of these super small balls moving really fast. And when they move fast, that creates, there's some energy output and that can impact us. That is electricity. So he knows that he could get shocked from that, right?
Yes.
So typically, electrons are always going to do things in the easiest way possible.
Right.
So electricity is always going to move towards the easiest thing. So it's going to, if you could climb up a mountain or walk on the street, you'd probably walk on the street.
Right.
So would the electrons. So normally, if a bird lands on a wire where this electricity is flowing, the options that the electrons have is to either go through the bird and go back to the wire or to just keep going through the wire. Which one seems easier?
Keep going through the wire.
Keep going through the wire. That's way easier.
It's like, why would you get off of the highway onto the access road, stop at a stoplight, and continue on and then get back on the on-ramp onto the highway?
Yeah, you wouldn't.
You just stay on the highway.
You just stay on the highway.
Okay.
Exactly. So if humans could also fly through the air and touch down on a wire with both of our feet at the same time, it wouldn't hurt us either. But we can't fly. So a lot of times when we're touching the electrical wires, we're also touching the ground. Or we're not touching them evenly, or we're not doing exactly what birds are, which is, the electricity can go through the wire or it can go through the bird, right? We're doing the electricity can go through the wire or it could go through me to somewhere else, and that somewhere else could be much easier to get to, like the ground. The ground is the easiest place for the electrons to go.
Got it.
So it's sort of like leaving the highway to a direct route to your house. It's like, hey, if I can take an on ramp or an off ramp here and get home faster, easier, I'm going to do that instead of having to go through all these wires to get back home.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So by us touching it and the ground, it'll go through our bodies, and it's so much energy, so much is happening, so much energy, is being put through your body when electricity runs through it, that it starts to really hurt you.
Yes.
And that's what getting shocked is. That's why birds don't get shocked, though.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yay. And sometimes people can work on the wires and they can touch them. They'll usually be in insulated containers, like those little buckets and things that they put barriers between anywhere that the wire and the electrons could flow to the ground.
Okay.
So sometimes they do that too, to make sure that doesn't happen.
That's crazy because there's the science of knowing that is correct, and then the person who has to do it, who tested that out and was like, hey guys, look, it's totally fine.
Yeah. I don't know if they do live wires or if they try to turn them off or whatever, but I think technically if you were in something that does not allow electrons to flow and you touched it, you'd be safe because again, if they're not going anywhere, they're not going to get off the highway.
Yeah.
I think don't go touching wires just to test this out. I'm not an electrician.
Right.
It's just my chemistry view of it.
Dang, interesting. Okay, you ready for the next one?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, this one is from Explain Like I'm 5. And this is from, we'll just put the users in the show notes because some of these usernames can be interesting, and sometimes they can be not appropriate, just depending. You never know.
It's so true. Reddit is a wild place.
Very wild place. Okay. Explain Like I'm 5. Why can cake mix just be mixed together with the other ingredients, but baking a cake from scratch requires separate mixing?
Okay. I have a really good answer for this.
Nice.
This is a great question. So we've talked before about how for molecules to move around, they usually need a medium to move around in. The solid molecules are moving, but they're just moving pretty slowly. They're they can kind of only talk to the people right around them. They're not able to move through the whole classroom kind of thing.
Right.
But when we add liquid to it, they're going to move around and interact with each other much faster. So reactions will happen much faster. So when you mix the dry ingredients of a cake together, those ingredients are not going to interact with one another very much. So if you had, for an example, an acid and a base that are going to react and put out gas bubbles, and that's what makes our cakes light and fluffy, you can put those two things together in the powder form and they won't interact with each other very much. They will maybe a little bit, but not a lot. So with making cakes from scratch, you essentially are first making all those dry things, and then you're mixing together all the liquid things so that as soon as you put that liquid in, everything can interact. You put it right in the oven and you can bake your cake and it'll trap all the air bubbles in there, and so your cake will be fluffy.
Yeah.
If you mixed it together ahead of time and let it sit there while you're adding more and more things, it could be that the reaction's happening and your cake would be less fluffy. What cake mixes do is basically make the dry ingredients for you. So it's the same process, but you don't have to do the dry ingredients. You are just making the wet ingredients. And typically what I actually do is I mix all the wet ingredients, the egg, the water, and the oil, and then I dump the cake mix in. But honestly, it's so easy to dump those things in that not much reaction happens by the time that they're all added. You're not measuring whatever too much. You're just like egg, water, oil, usually pretty quick. That I think that's why sometimes people dump it right into it, is because it's just low risk.
Yeah.
But I do the opposite. I mix the things together so that they're already mixed. The minute I add the cake batter and it's mixed up, I can put it in the pan into the oven.
Yeah, right. Makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Totally, yeah. Well, we talked about that with the baking powder, baking soda kind of stuff, where I was thinking if you were the type of person who you're kind of moving slow, or if something could distract you, and you've got some baking powder that you've added, the way we talked about how that works is it's going to start doing its thing.
Yeah.
And what if it gets to do its thing and doesn't have much thing left to do? while baking or whatever.
And you might be able to actually even test that by getting some baking powder out and adding some water to it and seeing what happens. I don't know for sure, but my guess is it would start bubbling up.
Interesting.
No, I want to try that.
Okay, ready for the next one?
Ready.
Okay, also explain like I'm 5. Why do some things make more fire than others at the same temperature? So if a metal is really hot, it's just liquid or more malleable. When something like wood is the same temperature, it makes a lot of flames. Why is that?
Okay, so I'll say that these are kind of two different things that are happening. One, flames and fire is a chemical reaction. And the other, liquid getting really hot and being malleable, is what we call a physical change. So basically, it's the same material. It's not reacting with anything. So you can either have a chemical change or you can have a physical change. Chemical change is substance A and B mixed together to make C. But a physical change is ice melts into water. It's still the same molecules. They're just in a different state, basically. So the reason wood, when it gets really hot, makes fire is because it's actually the molecules in the wood are interacting with the molecules in the air, and the heat gives enough energy for that reaction to happen. And sometimes reactions don't just happen automatically. Sometimes they need a little help to get started. So that's why, like, when you strike a match, you put energy in to start the reaction. So heat is a form of energy. So if the wood gets hot enough, suddenly it can react with the oxygen around it. But metal doesn't react with oxygen. So when it gets hot, it's not reacting with oxygen. It's just going through a physical change. I'll say, I guess metal does react with oxygen, which is why we see rust.
Right.
But it's just not the same dramatic type of reaction that you see with wood and oxygen. So it's really because they're two different chemical substances, and one can react with the air around us, and the other is not reacting with the air around us at that temperature in that same dramatic way. But it's also why wood doesn't rust, but metal does. It's just a different reaction.
Interesting. And weird. I remember us talking about fire in the past, and it being like one of those. It's like, oh yeah, fire is weird. Fire is very, very weird.
Yeah, fire is so weird.
And I'll never fully get it.
It's like a reaction that's just feeding itself. Like you have to get it started, but once it gets started, it's starting itself over and over and over and over and over again. It's crazy.
Next, explain like I'm 5 is why is hot beverage in a mug? Okay, that's funny. Just like this is how it's worded. Why is hot beverage in a mug steaming if it's way below boiling? 100 degrees Celsius, 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, why is it steaming even though it's way lower than that?
This is a great question, and it's the same reason that ice and snow can melt even if it's below freezing outside, because there's the whole body of the thing, and then there's the surface of the thing. So there's a bunch of molecules. Let's say it's just hot water steaming. So there's tons of water molecules in there, and they're in their liquid state. But right at the surface where they are, they're not trapped under a bunch of other water molecules, they might be able to gain enough energy from the other molecules, from whatever, to overcome the pressure pushing down on them from outside. And so there's a few molecules then that will just be steaming away and leaving, but it's usually just from the top level. Just a few molecules able to get enough energy basically to escape. First as, liquid steam and then gas. They dissipate all through. But boiling is all the water is trying to do that, like the water, the bubbles that you see coming up boiling. That's water molecules that have turned into gas underneath the surface, and they're able to escape.
Right. So you could basically say the very top layer of molecules of a cup of water has a much lower boiling point. If you were to try to be like, oh, this layer.
Yeah. This top layer is giving enough energy to overcome. It's the same reason that water dries sitting out on our counter.
Right.
It never boils, but it does evaporate. And so you're sort of seeing that evaporation. Never boils, but it evaporates. Yeah. So you're seeing that evaporation happen in real time from here.
Yeah.
from your steaming mug of delicious herbal tea, etc.
Yes. Interesting. Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's why you can see it at room temperature for really hot liquids, but then like sort of normal liquids seem to steam, less hot liquids steam outside on a super cool day. You know, like my super hot tea, I can't often see it inside, but I can always see it if I carry it into work.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Okay. We're now switching subreddits. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, this next one is from Am I the Jerk? That's what we've called it here on this show, just in case you've got little ones listening with you. You know what the actual subreddit is. Am I the Jerk? Am I the jerk for questioning my cousin's choice to study medicine for being a fan of Grey's Anatomy? My younger cousin is in her senior year in high school, and when we were talking about her future college and career choices, she told me she wants to go to med school. I was a bit surprised because she had just previously told me she is not interested in any related subject. She likes the arts and history and seems to despise biological sciences. So I kept asking what drew her to medicine, and she said she started thinking about it after binge watching Grey's Anatomy. So I said she should maybe do some extra research on the realities of med school and the medical field, because Grey's Anatomy is fiction and not an accurate representation of the profession and a doctor's life. I said this with the good intentions, but she took it as if I was suggesting she was naive and misinformed, or trying to make her second guess her decision. Am I the jerk?
I have so many feelings about this.
Dang.
My first thought is it's so hard to know without being there for that conversation. Did you say it like she's naive and she,
Right.
you know, it's like, how did you say it? Were were you genuinely like, oh, you know, it's pretty different? Or were you like, you should reconsider, you know, I don't know. That could really impact tone, and existing relationships can impact so much of communication.
Yeah, totally.
But then also, I think I'm sort of two minds, because I think it is really valid to be concerned that maybe someone doesn't know the full extent of what a career is going to take. On the other side, I know so many people who are into forensics and chemistry because of watching shows like Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, if that gets people interested and then they're able to contribute and they really do enjoy it, and they didn't know they enjoyed it until they watched that show, who are we to judge?
Yeah.
But I think what's hard is she going to go to school and she's going to spend a lot of money trying to get a science degree that she doesn't love? That can be hard. That can cost something.
Yeah.
But you know what? People change their minds all the time about the career they want to be in, you know?
Yeah.
So what do you think about it?
What's funny about it is that
Your dad is a doctor, right?
Yeah, he's a PA. Yeah, I immediately related. So my dad's a PA, a physician's assistant, which is, not everyone has interacted with that, especially so it's kind of confusing because they can diagnose and prescribe and all that kind of stuff. You can go see, he's in the ER. So
they're doctor-like.
Yep. A doctor does not, he will see a patient and decide what to do, and that patient won't see the doctor.
Right.
Because they don't need to. My mom is an RN, registered nurse, and she was worked in the hospital off and on when I was a kid, and now she's in like the admin side. And then my very own wife is a nurse practitioner. And my brother was a medical scribe. So it's just like surrounded by it.
Yeah, you have a good insight into this.
But what I'll say is what I related to about reading it was actually that when I was in like middle school and early high school, because I loved the TV show House so much.
Yes, yeah.
I was pretty convinced I wanted to go into medicine. And obviously my view was very informed by what the show House was like, which is, it's fictional, of course. And even that kind of team structure, even within the show, is rare. They don't make it seem like that's normal, you know?
Yeah.
And of course, House is a very.
I would have thought Scrubs would be the one that got you.
I loved Scrubs. I did, but for some reason, something about that didn't like inspire me.
It just made you want to make jokes.
Yeah, it's just like fun to be in a workplace with your friends, I guess. The Scrubs is like great for that, but then House was like there's a mystery to solve.
Yeah.
Which is of course he's based off of Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
But so I really related to your cousin because of that, and yet I will say that in throughout my years in high school, I was beginning to realize that and also because of my family members who were in medicine, I was beginning to realize that getting that kind of job would not be possible, like the exact kind of House version of things. And I think they made us do some like tests in high school that were like about like just some vocation
aptitude or yeah.
And it was like, you need to be doing something creative and blah, blah, blah was kind of the stuff that I was told with a little less structure and stuff like that. And so I did start to like let that dream die.
Yeah.
But I do think what's tough is like you can warn somebody, but sometimes people just need to discover it themselves.
Yeah.
And what's wrong with them discovering that? I don't think they would get through like years and years and years of school and classes. It might be like literally the first year of biology in college that it's like, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
This isn't for me. So a little bit of time and money is wasted, but we kind of all did that. Like a lot of us had to discover what we.
Or maybe they get into it and they're like, wow, I'm really good at this and I didn't know.
Yeah.
Our friend Miriam, she told me that a lot of her like aunt and grandma said basically the women in our family aren't good at math. So you shouldn't do science. And she got a career. She didn't really like it. And she worked for higher education institution. She's like, I think I'm just going to go back. And she loved her science classes and she got all A's, you know, and you're like, oh, somebody just told me I wasn't going to be good at this. So I never tried.
Right.
Something I think also, I think a lot of people want to help other people, and that's part of why they want to be doctors. They're like, oh, it's a great way to help people, and they see it all the time. They're like, oh, yeah, I go to the doctor as a kid, and so that's a career where I see someone helping me, so that's how I can help people. And sometimes they don't know about other fields where you can be helping without maybe the commitment of all that time to medical school.
Yeah. I do think what's cool about a show inspiring, or maybe a book or whatever it is, or maybe a person in your life. It's like, of course you're not getting the full picture of something. You're hearing somebody talk about their job, but you're not there with them every day. But something that's cool about that is you can get inspired that can kind of ignite a flame in you or whatever.
Yeah.
And then when you are going to these classes that maybe biology wouldn't have been your cup of tea before, something has piqued your interest.
Yeah.
And now you're into it. And to Melissa's point about chemistry, where, a lot of things that she talks about is people kind of being introduced to it in a way that's not helping them, or they're told before they ever get a chance to like study it that it's hard and it's not interesting or useful and does not pertain to everyday life, which of course couldn't be further from what the thesis of this podcast is basically.
Yeah.
But just that like changing that can really help people, and that there's not a type of person that is you aren't stuck as like, this is the kind of field you must do or not do. And if you get inspired and intrigued, you could do whatever.
Yeah. And I'll also say I work with a lot of pre-med, and I spend a lot of time, recommending people to pre-med or whatever. And I think that, I lost my train of thought. We were talking about, I think that a better approach, honestly, you might not be someone who knows a lot about the medical field. So just saying like, you should do more research isn't really helpful, but asking questions can be good. Like, have you, something you can do is shadow doctors. A lot of doctors will let you just shadow them so you can see what it's really like. So you could have been like, have you shadowed anyone to see like what it's like compared to TV, if it's really like that? Or, that's cool. Do you think it's a lot like the show? Or, asking questions of like, that's cool. Are you excited to learn about science? You can frame it in a really different way that still gets them reflecting on like, I don't really take science class. You can ask questions without deciding for them. I think is probably a healthier and more helpful way to do it. But yeah, raining on someone's parade, at most you'll save them a semester of classes that they didn't love and they whatever. But at worst, you'll make them change their mind from something they could have been great at.
Yeah.
And maybe also always wonder and always regret not trying because you put a seed of doubt in them, which ultimately it's everyone's independent choice. But why risk that when you could be supportive and ask questions, and maybe you could go learn about, how do you learn about what medical school is really like? But actually what you said about how House inspired you more than Scrubs is funny because I've heard that Scrubs is one of the most medically accurate of this show.
That's true. Yeah. So. I think it's because they don't really have any, it's not the main subject, so they don't have any sensationalizing of cases. It's like a very normal hospital with very normal doctors and nurses and the interplay in their personal lives and stuff like that. But it's not a soapy thing like Grey's Anatomy is and all that kind of stuff. But
so I would say soft, you're maybe the jerk with how you handled it. But, ultimately, it's nice that you care, but be careful with how you care.
Sounds like you care about your cousin, which is, props to you for that, for sure.
Yeah.
This next one's such a similar area of topic, but this is in the subreddit Advice for Teens. Should I even consider going into the medical field if I suck at understanding science? I've always been intrigued by medical things. When someone around me gets an injury, I want to know what happened, how they're fixing it. I'm not at all bothered by blood. It sounded like I was almost like having a hard time reading the word blood.
You're like,
sorry. I'm not at all bothered by blood. I really enjoy helping people with these types of things. As I'm approaching junior year of high school, I'm being asked a lot of what do you plan to do in the future and what do you want to be and that kind of stuff. While I'm far from knowing, it's always in the back of my mind, the medical field being the one I think about most. In the last couple of years, I've taken biology and chemistry, both of which I didn't fail, but I didn't do great in either. I didn't particularly enjoy. However, biology type things interested me more than the chemistry. My brain can't seem to grasp or enjoy these subjects, but I wish it would. So just wondering, should I even consider going into the medical field when I do not enjoy the in-depth science of it, but rather the real aspect of treating and helping people? Bless you.
Sorry, I didn't take my allergy meds today and it shows. Okay. This is a great question. I love this. This could have been from one of my students. I once had a student who came into my office just crying and telling me how much she hated all of her classes. And I was like, well, then maybe you should change majors. And she's like, you don't think I could be a doctor? And then cried more. And I was like, I think you can, but I don't know if it's going to make you happy.
Right.
This person, I feel like I really appreciated. It's almost like this person could be the cousin from the one before,
Yeah.
I appreciated how they talked about how much they loved, blood doesn't bother me. Medical stuff is really interesting. Those are really important things to be in any health profession. And so asking yourself okay, well, I think there's a few things, but one, is there a career that I could go into that lets me do those things and everything else I want to do with my life without requiring me to take classes that make me very unhappy?
Mm-hmm.
So I know people who love dental work, and so they become dental hygienists, and those are lucrative careers with stable hours. They get to, pick their kids up after school, they get the life that they want. I think I've said this on the podcast a lot, but it's there's no such thing as a dream job, but what do you want your life to look like? And then get a job that facilitates that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what I wish someone had told me was get a job, pursue a career that facilitates that sooner, as soon as you can, I think. Because for me, I really like my job now, and I'm working to get to this work-life balance place that okay, this is what I was working towards, but it took me 12 years basically to get there. I mean, I graduated college in 2013 and I got hired in my full-time job in 2024. So I guess 11 years. But that's a big sacrifice. And that's less than what most medical doctors do to get their full-time training, And things that we didn't talk about is the opportunity cost, right? My husband went to a 4-year school. He got trained in he's an engineer, excellent profession that only takes 4 years, and he didn't go into debt for it. And he started investing in his retirement right away. And he started at a lower bracket than I started at in terms of earning, but he's been working his way up and getting promotions this whole time while I was in school. So even though we started at different amounts, he started sooner. And by the time I started, even though he graduated after me, he has higher income than I do.
Mm-hmm.
So and he's been investing in retirement for years, and I hadn't because I was in grad school. So there's just questions to think about, like, okay, do I want to be in school for this long? If I don't like these, will I like the later classes? Is there someone I can talk to who does it that might like that might have had similar experiences? Or, a lot of people want to be in medicine and they want to help people, so they become physical therapists because that is a less, the prereqs for that are less.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's less, I don't think they have to take organic chemistry, but you would for a traditional med school track, so there's options of how you can help people. Being a nurse is an incredibly lucrative career, and it starts so much sooner. And if you want to be a primary care provider, you can by becoming a nurse practitioner, right? So you can get a good stable income. You can get a variety of working schedules that could help you and your long-term goals. And you don't have to go to school for 12 years for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a great point. The number of options you have still within something medical that might scratch the particular kind of itch you're feeling, that's not only the route of like doctor kind of thing. One of the things I was thinking about while you were talking is that my wife she was an RN for, I'm trying to remember exactly how many years. Probably, I would guess around 6 years before she went to get her nurse practitioner degree. And one of the things that she kind of mourns, even though it was a good move for her, and she's obviously wouldn't change it now, but is that the ratio of how much the helping people kind of stuff when she was a nurse, and how much knowledge you need to have when she went to being a nurse practitioner. She had to learn a lot more things, and there's a lot more responsibility on her, but also the helping with stuff like on the wing of a hospital. She kind of missed that, if that makes sense. And the mixture of like, yeah, I have to know, this amount of medical knowledge and know how to do these things. But there's a lot of she actually misses starting IVs and stuff like that she doesn't need to do as an NP. And so there's a level of that she misses. And so depending on, what parts of medicine are super interesting to you, you could probably think what has the ratio of that? Doctors are making, rounds with their patients if they have patients in the hospital and stuff like that. They're moving from patient to patient, or if they're doing primary care or whatever. But what their day-to-day looks like might be kind of different. It might not be as much of feeling I get to really engage with a particular patient and help them. Whereas nurses get that, especially if you're on the wing of a hospital, working a 12-hour shift, you're going to get to interface with the same 8 patients all day long or all night long.
Yeah.
And that might be what you love if you're a people person kind of thing. Or some of the other options that Melissa mentioned, dentistry or physical therapy or something like that, which is man, there's just so many.
Dentistry has to
options.
take as many of the sciences, actually. They have the same prereqs, I think. Yeah. But I think being a physical therapist has less, and being an RN has less of this. You have to take some of the sciences, but it's intro chem and intro, more bio than whatever. But there's a lot, I think there's a lot less in terms of really going into the upper level chemistries where medical school is required to. Sometimes I'm why? But they are. I actually watched somebody do a research project on why med school students need OChem. It was really interesting. So all that to say, I think try things, see if you can shadow people, look into other careers. Even at my school, there's a medical laboratory technology degree that's you go right into testing bodily fluids, basically blood and other things for all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So see what else you like.
Yeah, and you could get while you're doing whatever you're doing, you could get a job as a CNA. You get a certified nursing assistant job, which is would just get you in the context of a medical facility somewhere.
Yeah.
It's good pay, and also you just get to be around stuff, you'd be meeting nurses and doctors and stuff and asking them about their jobs. That's one of the things that my wife tells people to do a lot. It's like, well, if you're going to do this and you need a job anyway, like, yeah, you have to get certified and stuff like that. But it's like, it's a great job.
And that does make medical school applicants look way stronger. Mm-hmm. If you've been in the field working, you're not someone who's like, oh, my parents wanted me to be a doctor. Mm-hmm. And so it makes your application really strong because they're like, oh, they know what it's actually like to do the dirty work and they still want to do this. Yeah. You've
been around the blood and stuff. And clean things up and change bed linens and stuff like that. It's like stuff that isn't fun, but it's like, but you did it. Yeah. Yep.
Well, I love this question. I think both of these questions are a lot of the types of conversations I have with my students. And for both of them, I just think it's okay to change your mind. I thought I wanted to be an organic chemist with a research lab, and I changed my mind, and I only quote unquote got my master's in organic chemistry, but that's because I realized it wasn't what I wanted to do. So it wasn't like I failed. I found the thing that I wanted to do more, and that's actually a win. So don't be afraid to change your mind.
Yeah. That's good advice. Okay, last one. This is from our organic chemistry.
Woo!
I got an A in organic chemistry. This is definitely a win for me after doing terribly in general chemistry. 2 C pluses accumulated a lot of hate toward chemistry as a whole. But this was fun. I really enjoyed this big puzzle.
I love that. I spend so much time trying to convince people that OChem is just one big puzzle and there's no math and it's actually better than Gen Chem. But people, it has such a bad reputation. And I know why it does. That was part of what my research was. But reading this made me so happy because it is possible to get an A in organic chemistry even if you didn't like general chemistry. And there's less math, which I love.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was a happy note to end it on.
That's very cool. I bet the comments on this were super encouraging too. Like,
oh yeah, that'd be fun to go look.
Can imagine, like you see those really good, feel good, like wholesome posts where someone's just like, hey, I did something and I'm proud of it and I feel good. And people are just like really encouraging. There's different sides of Reddit for sure. But that side is really heartwarming when people are just like, look at you go, and sharing similar stories like that. But that's cool.
Yeah, I love that. And it is like fun. Sometimes you're like, where can I brag about this? I would always call my mom. I'm like, you won't judge me for being proud.
Yeah. It's good to have that outlet where it's like, hey, I'm going to tell you something that's just about something I did that I just want someone to hear and care about.
Yeah. And I'm not going to tell my friends who didn't get an A.
Right. That's a good point too. Yeah. You don't want to brag to somebody who's going to be hurt by that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the type of thing I hope my students say.
Those were fun.
Yeah, those were fun. Thanks for asking those questions. And thanks, y'all, for listening.
Mm-hmm. If you've got a question, thought, idea, comment, whatever, send those to us on our website at chemforyourlife.com. It's chem, F-O-R, yourlife.com to share your thoughts, ideas, and questions with us. If you'd like to help us keep our show going and contribute to cover the cost of making it, you can join our super cool Chem community of patrons on patreon.com/chemforyourlife. Ad-free feed of the show, bonus episode every month, et cetera, et cetera. Most importantly, you help keep the show going and keep it free for everybody else. So it's awesome, and we're very grateful to our community.
Yep.
You can also support the show by buying some merch. A hat like this, a sweatshirt like that, and many more other items, small and large, on chemforyourlife.com/store. That's chemforyourlife.com/store. Supports the show, and you get something cool in the process. But if you can't do that, you can still help us by subscribing to your favorite podcast app, writing a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever your app, if they have ratings, subscribing on YouTube, and leaving a comment over there. All those things help people to find us and have the chemistry of their everyday life explained to them.
This episode of Chemistry for Your Life was created by me and Jam is our producer. And this episode was made possible by our financial supporters over on Patreon. So we'd like to shout each of you out. So thank you so much to Hunter, Chris, and Claire, Steven, Timothy, Katrina, Scott, Vince, Kyle, Brian, Latila, Rachel, Elizabeth, John, Jesse, Doreen, Heather, Ash, Emily, Avishai, Chelsea, Christina, Jacob, Venus, Suzanne, Erica, Cullen, Jeanette, Autoclave, Julie, Justine, and Amanda. Y'all are awesome, and thank you so much for everything you do to make this show happen.
Yay, chemistry!